community activities, and I grew up being a nice child at school, very involved in church. At that time, I used to worship at the Catholic Church. I no longer I do that though, but then I was a very nice child. Then moved on from the Bagatelle school, moved on to grammar school, and after grammar school, Barbados, England, in terms of school, UE, stuff like that. And so that's me. I have three children. They are all involved in music. I mean, they are overseas right now at school. And my first boy plays like how many different instruments, and he played with T.O.K.S. He's a member of T.O.K.S. But then
Nice.
he's at school right now in Texas. So my children grew up like into music, all the three of them.
So would the both of you say that music was something that was like
We had in
part of
common.
the community, part of the village? Yeah, come on. Yeah, well, of
Yes.
course, you guys have something in common, which we'll find out about in a few. But
Yes.
in terms of music, I mean, was music like something that was always in the community, that kind of just made people gravitate towards music?
Well, there were guys before us. I recall a band many years ago with Teacher Derek and Teacher Bernard and Mr. Tees. And after that, you had a few guys with guitars, and these guitars were, at the time, they were more than $500 million because you couldn't get close to them. You could just see them hanging on the partition, and so we had to learn the hard way, and so a few of us started in school at the Bagatelle Primary School, where we used to now and again take the Teacher Bernard's guitar and just chant, and and that came, and down the line, we had a group called Thunder Roots, myself, Nasio, Sylvester Etienne, and a few other guys. So we started a long time in this music thing. We're talking about 73. That's in school. And post primary school, we had this band called Thunder Roots. And then currently, I'm part and parcel of a group called South Experience Band, formerly Digital Stars. I managed the Midnight Groovers for a few months, and I'm still part of them. They rehearse at my place. So music is just part and parcel of the whole thing.
Would you say like there was community support at that time, like in the 70s with the whole music scene? Was there like community, was it community behind you?
Yeah.
With what you were doing?
Yes, at that time, yes, we had community support as compared to now. In the 70s, we did a number of things. We hosted shows, that is even pre electricity, when we had electricity in the community. So we would put on talent shows and get a number of people involved. So I've been an actor for many years. I recall Val. Young Bull said I'm the longest acting public officer he can recall. So I've been acting all my life. So it's natural.
Yeah, trust Bull to say that. Good morning to you, Deacon Bull. How you hope everything is going well with you today as well. But at school though. And before we get into our discussion, at school, was music taught in the schools, or was it just a matter of the teachers, one or two teachers who were like musically inclined, just giving lessons, or what was it like in the school?
Well, at the time we had Teacher Bernard who would he was basically singing, and he had his guitar for accompaniment, and we just like what we were hearing, and we were right. We were a few yards, a few miles away from the Midnight Groovers and the guys at the time. Those days you listen to Bob Marley, Burning Spear, um, Gramax, Exile One, Swinging Stars, basically, a number of reggae artists. So we did what we had to get where we are today.
Wonderful, wonderful. And Pamela, was that the same for your experience as well?
Yeah,
I mean, the
back
fact
in
that the kids are involved in music, you involved in music, same thing in terms of the
well,
school?
back in primary school, yes, same as John. So we would have like not really music lessons, but we had time out for music. So, but basically, it was like singing, and singing, and they teach you how to sing in different parts, and to get the sound going.
Little voice training.
Because little voice training. This now basically pushed me into being a choir member at the Catholic Church in Bagatelle. I served as a choir member at one point, even led the choir. Because of that, I learned how to play the guitar. And so I played the guitar in the Catholic Church, with the choir. And yes, until I sort of moved out of the Catholic Church. And then, but the thing is, my husband is also very much into music, just loves music, and he played the guitar as well. And because of that, our children just came out as naturals. They were from very young. I observed my two boys were like being at table, they were using their fork and spoon, and then they were drumming away. So I knew very early I had to get them drum sets, I had to get them musical instruments. Then I had to take my boys into music lessons. So then Valley, how you call Valina later was like doing
later.
classes. At one point when I brought my first son, she said, "Oh my God, this is like a younger version of Cornell." And then he grew up now kind of liaising with Cornell, and then they were doing stuff together and so. And my daughter is not into instrument playing, but she sings. She sings and has gotten into song contests and stuff like that. And she's a worship leader. She leads worship, at our church. But then again, right now she's not home. So they go and they come back every year on vacation.
You almost feel like the Fontaine family, or the name Fontaine, is associated with music.
Yeah.
When you think of Nasio
Yeah.
and of course John and you and all the other Fontaines that seem to have been involved in music.
And we are all related.
And even on my end, Nigel, my first daughter, Gilliana is a songster, one of the golden voices in Dominica, And Gilliana did quite a few things. She used to have her own gigs, Jungle Bay and other places. And when she taught at the Grand Bay School, she's the one who wrote the PHL Secondary School song.
Oh, so, interesting.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah. Joseph, you're learning something about that, right, Joseph? Oh, Joseph left me. Okay. But so that was like, growing up in the community. We're going to get into our main discussion, find out a few questions on that. Both of you involved in community work now. Do you find that back then, growing up, as kids and young adults, that there was a lot of community spirit and a lot of the community togetherness and doing things together? Was that something that you grew up with?
Yes, Nigel, on target. That's what it was at the time. I think right now you have more distractions, and people have become more selfish, hence the word selfie. So cell phones, television, and you go back to the days when you had the post office, the church, the school, the river for washing and recreation. Everybody go to the same place, you go to the same post office, and everything was just nice. Those days, at the end of the day, when people shut the door, they're into their television and their tablets and their phones, and so that type of connection is actually missing. However, fortunate for us, there is still some level of connection with sports. in the community. So we really want to actually commend the young guys like Sean Martin and the others who are doing an exceptional job and bringing the young people together to have the sports competitions and so on.
Yeah, I kind of like the way you mentioned the fact that, you know, the selfishness have crept into our communities. And, you know, once it's, you know, the doors are locked, that's it, everybody's to themselves now. And you no longer have those activities where the community will be participating, you know. By the way, Andrew Fontaine wants to say hi to you too as well, and a few other people on, you know, on our Facebook page. Of course, you know, this is live.
Okay.
So a few people just want to say hi to you guys.
Hi,
Andrew Fontaine and I think Daily Spence as well, and a few other people want to say hi to you guys. So final question for me on terms of community and so on. What about the ladies, Pamela? Because oftentimes you might find maybe the gentlemen might be out there playing some dominoes, or, you know, whether they're on the playing field or whatever. Back then, were the ladies involved in community activities as well?
Well, pretty much, yes. Sports again, like rounders. So you would have, like, you know, like different like rounders matches. So then that was one of the key things that would have brought the ladies together. And of course, if you are doing some community event where people are expected to participate, yes, you had things like community day of service. The women definitely would be there. They would be there cooking the foods and stuff like that. Yes. So
yeah, community day of service, man. How can you mention community day of service without mentioning John Fontaine? So, you know.
But before that, Nigel, I want to just go back a little bit, as you mentioned the participation by the women. I must mention that we had a very powerful cultural group somewhere in the 83s, 84s, led by Melina Fontaine and Ivanti Harriet, members Maver Charles, Denniston Carrett, Wilford Casimir, Nelson Fontaine, Oliver Robin, and they won the Mazouk in 84. And so, you know, so you had followings. The young people would look up to. But currently, that's what we're trying to revamp. We're trying to get a cultural group going in the village.
Do we think? And I know we're going to get into the Bagatelle Landslide in a few. Do we think that? And the reason I'm asking is because both of you are so involved in the community and in community activities and community, you know, participation and so on. Do you think we as a people, we've kind of lost that community spirit, that community togetherness, that village raising the child? Do you think we've kind of lost that, or is it just that it's a new time? So it's you know, it's not that we've lost it, but it's just a new time. Or do you think we've lost that?
I don't think we have totally lost it.
No.
I'll tell you what. When it comes to constructing a building, when a Kudme is called in Bagatelle, that you can see very, 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 very successful records of this. I recall counting almost 70 guys on a building. We were casting a roof slab. And when it comes to that, we have that kind of connection. When it comes to your neighbor looking, you know, for you, looking out for you, that is still very, very, very present. And if a Kudme is organized, if it is organized and well publicized, you will still get support. However, there's a trend where people just stay back. And in most communities in Dominica, I can speak for the country. In most communities in Dominica, when you hear of a successful activity, even if the committees are made up of 15 and 20 people, most times it's just 3-4 people carrying the weight. Yeah. So it's something that we have to continue working at.
Definitely, definitely so. And that kind of leads us into into our discussion, or into the main part, if you want, of the discussion, and the Bagatelle disaster. For those who are not familiar, first of all, what part of Bagatelle is Dominica? South, north, east, west.
Southeast.
Oh,
Way south.
okay. And what are some of the communities surrounding Bagatelle?
Granby, Pidit Savan, the former Pidit Savan, Jubique, Pichelin, Stowe Estate are the
Okay.
closest.
And I'm doing a history on Bagatelle now, and the reason I'm
Bellevue
doing that
Chopin,
is
because we share
Bellevue Chopin,
this,
okay.
those of us down in that area, we are in the same constituency politically. So from
Okay.
Bellevue Chopin going back up into Pidit Savan.
Which is Bagatelle the largest of the communities that you just mentioned, or is like in between, or the smallest one, or any idea?
Granby is the largest. I think
Okay.
we would
Yeah.
come in like
Close to a second.
close to a second. Pidit Savan and Bagatelle would be about
Okay.
the largest
Alright.
after Granby.
Okay. And how does one get to Bagatelle from, say, if you're in the city, you're heading up to Bagatelle, which way do you go?
You head down south. If you're in, you head to the Lubia Junction, and you turn left, and you follow the road up to Bellevue Chopin.
You might be wondering, why is he asking all this? I'm going to tell you why. Because we have a few folks, right, that's on connecting the dots, that are out of Dominica.
Okay.
And they've been out of Dominica for a while. And they always keep, whenever we have those discussions, they always keep asking us, well, give us like a kind of a picture, because they've left for so long, or some of them have never been to Dominica, they have Dominican parentage, and they kind of want to know a little bit about, the geography of the country and locations, and so they can kind of form a picture. And that's the reason I'm asking those kind of questions for them,
Okay.
so that they can connect. So once we start talking about that disaster, they have a better idea as to, which area we're talking about, and so on.
Okay.
All right. So the Bagatelle disaster is something that has gone down in our history, of course. It's part of our history, an unfortunate incident. But more importantly, and I'm going to save that question for later on, in terms of, people knowing about our history, so we'll talk about that a little bit in a while. But prior to the Bagatelle disaster, the Bagatelle community was thriving, I would imagine. Is it mainly an agricultural community?
Agriculture, fisheries, fishing
Okay.
and agriculture. Well, agriculture, fishing, same.
All right. Yes. they go
Bagatelle
in-
comes with Fontaine as part of the thing. So it's like two communities, twin communities. We share one church, one post office, one village council. Yeah, one, like in terms of sports. So it's like the different communities, the two communities come together.
Hamlets.
And then we have different smaller hamlets.
Okay.
Within those
And then
communities.
someone is ask them what's the connection between Dalysis and Bagatelle? Is there a connection between Dalysis and Bagatelle? Can you get to Bagatelle through Dalysis?
Well, right now, no, you can't. With a vehicle, you would have to do some walking from Pidit Savan. But
Okay, a little bit of hiking. Okay.
yeah, but there's a connection with some people are relatives.
Relatives.
In Dalis,
Okay.
as well as those in Dalis have relatives in Fontaine and Bagatelle.
All right, wonderful. So the Bagatelle disaster, in talking about it, does it like bring back? Does it bring back memories to you that has had to relieve, or is it memories that you're able to talk about without much difficulty?
Well, there are memories that will not go away at all until death, and I do not have any difficulty talking about it.
Okay, all right. Wanted to just make sure we can be comfortable talking about that particular disaster. So, as I mentioned initially in the beginning, that was back then in 77, and you can correct me. I think it was September 21st, but if I'm wrong, of course, definitely correct me, because you're the resource on that.
Yeah.
But just tell us, though, generally, or you can go through specifics, why do we refer to this as the Bagatelle disaster? What happened back then on September that caused this disaster?
Well, my recollection is that we had rain for like 2 days prior, and somewhere like 3:30. Well, there were a number of slides on the road from morning, and around 3:30 in the afternoon there was this loud sound, and then there was just movement of soil. And people get covered, and houses got destroyed, and that's basically how it started. And and then it resulted in 13 deaths, and 13 of us were injured. There are some persons that we did not find their bodies.
Wow.
Because Mr. Blaise from First Sergeant Blaise Thomas, he was washed away by the river, and my dad was never found. My father was the chairman of the council at the time. So, and two of them died in service, he and George Joseph. They were serving on the council at the time.
So was it, so we had a lot of rain prior to that, and then you had, as you said, the landslides, and then you had this big explosion.
You're a little low, Nigel.
Yeah, so as now saying in terms of the, on that particular time, we had a lot of rain happening prior to that, prior to the actual slides and so on. Was there any concern before that happened, or I mean, have there been like landslides before that in the community when there's rain?
Well, yes, but not of that grave concern, and it was just a normal day, and usually when it's raining like that, people tend to go and hunt crabs, and a normal thing that people do during that time, eat kid and those kind of things. Make their broth and things like that. It was normal time, and for that matter, most of the people who got trapped and some of them who got killed, well, we were around a bakery. There were two bakeries in the area, and we were by one of them, and this is where most people got trapped.
Yeah. So
okay. Now, Nigel, I just wanted to ask, if I may, to Mr. Fontaine and Miss Pamela. I'm sure radio and some telecommunications were up and running. I'm pretty sure DBS was up and running back then. Like today, we can kind of tell a bit more that we're expecting a certain amount of rain and the amount of inches. We can even narrow it down to how many inches we could possibly get. Were there any indications through the media that there could be the possibility of something intense coming you guys' way?
No, at the time, no, not that I can recall. As I said, to us it was like a normal. It's raining.
So it was just like another normal rainy day, like any other day in the community.
Yes, but it's the movement, it's the explosion that happened, and that caused the disaster.
And of course, to those who would want to research this, Steinberg Henry produced an excellent production called Waves of Soil, which of course DBS has, and DBS probably may be airing next week at some point, for our audience that actually recollects everything. So definitely look out for that.
I just wanted to add to what John just said as well. Because it was just like a normal little rainy day kind of a thing, people were still around the bakery, just gathered around the bakery trying to get the bread, hot bread coming fresh from the oven, from the bakery itself. And when they saw like the first tiny little slide just in that area, that's why the persons like his dad and the other counselor, Mr. Joseph, who perished in that landslide as well, they were the ones who actually went to help, took and it's like again community effort. They went with their spades and cutlasses and just trying to help, just clear the road right next to the bakery, just where this major slide, and that's how they end up themselves getting caught up. So then it's like the community was already there helping, because they really didn't expect this major landslide. So it was like normal that you would have gotten just a tiny little flow of soil, a little landslide kind of a thing, and everybody just take their spade and go help out, just push that on the side, that kind of a thing. So then that as well, we need to mention.
But in addition to that too, the owners of the bakery, they had a challenge. They were facing a challenge. In that they were close to the main road, and the separation is the drain. The drain separates the road from the bakery. And as we mentioned, Bagatelle depend largely on fishing and farming. And so the bay oil industry at the time was thriving. And so it was customary that people bring the bay leaves and the wood to boil the bay leaves closer to the road, so that they could right next to the road, so that they could carry to the distillery. And so as a result, the drain close to the lady's house, above the lady's house, the owners of the bakery, got blocked and diverted water into the yard and close and the surrounding area of the bakery. And so people went to assist. That's where people went to assist, as well as to get their hot bread and things like that. And that is how it really, a number of people got trapped in that area.
So was it, and so it started off with just like a normal little, I don't want to say normal, but just like a little landslide, put it that way, right? I mean, I'm trying to put it in perspective, just a little landslide, which wasn't like out of the norm. You had landslides prior to that, right?
Yeah. Well, what I mentioned earlier on, there were landslides on the main road, the road leading to Petit Savin, between Bagatelle and Petit Savin. That community there is known as Seni. That hamlet is known as Seni. So between Seni and Petit Savin, you already had some slides on the road. But again, it was a normal rainy day. Although at one point in time, raindrops were very, very, very thick. I can recall, very thick. And so all during that time that we were assisting the bakery owners, Miss Faustina Dorival, who is one of our elders in the community, and recently we also, Back on Point also awarded her for contribution to baking in the community. So you find that people really came out to support and to assist her, because she had this challenge where she was experiencing some level of flooding, and as I said, and also to get their hot bread. So talking about community spirit. So despite all the rain, and some people who were in their comfort zone, people came out to assist. And I recall when my father, who when he got the call, there was some tools. The village council had some tools in a storeroom we had there, and he took some tools and left, and then I followed after. And the term waves of soil came out from the fact that the last lady who saw my father alive, she said my dad had just left her a few yards and was heading back to the main road to help. And she saw these waves of soil, and that covered him and took him away. And she could not give direction to people as to where to look for him, because she suffered from shock. She was also hospitalized.
Wow. Yes. That could have been tough on her, and of course the rest of the family and you as well.
Yeah.
In recollecting that, John, do you have lessons that you've learned from it, or do you feel a sense of loss, or do you feel like your dad gave to the community and in a sense almost you know, lost his life giving service.
Yeah, our family had great loss, and the community, because my father was father to many many other people in the community, and at that time the level of respect that was given to counselors is different today. I
Mm.
recall a cousin of mine who has gone to the great beyond, Inspector Francis, once said to me, "You know, John, that some of the residents have more respect for your father as the chairman of the council than me as a police officer."
Wow.
Yes, because they were very much involved. This man called Alfred Fontaine would come to your yard and start making noise with you, but he has your cocoa broom and start sweeping your yard. He would make
Wow.
time to go to he would make time to go to the school and connect with the teachers, and to go to Fontaine almost every afternoon to connect with the fishermen. So these guys, they were on the ground. So when you lose somebody like that, you know, you must miss him. And I look at the history of the council. We're talking about somewhere 71 to now, and he and George Joseph and the others, they were on their second term. And what they did in these 6 years, after that, we yet to see something like that happen. Because the same community spirit that you're talking about, they were able to negotiate with landowners in the community, and they were able to cut the Senny Road, the Cadbois Road, two roads in Fontaine, and build that bridge in Fontaine, which is a landmark. That bridge in Fontaine have stood the test of time. Yes. And so we miss these people daily.
Are there, have there been, or you probably would have done it already, I'm not aware, but are there plans, or have you ever thought of like um, creating some kind of, if not necessarily statue thing, but creating an area or a section of the community in honor of those people, your dad and others?
Yes, the council and other community-based organizations came together, and a cenotaph was built. But again, because we're prone to these landslides and things like that, again, it was destroyed. So hopefully, when we meet, when this ecumenical service that we're planning, we have a memorial plaque that is located at the council's office that we will take to the site at the school next Wednesday, and we will have an unveiling of that plaque, and hopefully to have a permanent place for it, most probably on our heritage site, the Bagatelle Old Mill Heritage Site.
Excellent, excellent. Because we have to remember that, and we'll talk a little bit about that in terms of, you know, people remembering the history and what took place on that day. Joseph, yes, you wanted to give the numbers.
Yes, I was just gonna do that. But just before we give the numbers, of course, as I indicated to you earlier on, we have these announcements coming in. We're
Definitely.
gonna have to just air them a few times throughout the program. Once again, the announcement from the National Bank of Dominica, the ATM updates. Of course, the National Bank of Dominica Limited, which is to inform the public that all the ATMs except the one located at the Douglas Charles Airport are now available. So once again, the National Bank of Dominica wishes to inform the public that all the ATMs except the one located at the Douglas Charles Airport are now available. NBD encourages everyone to continue to be cautious. The local numbers to call are as follows. The toll-free number is 1-800-327. Our international number is 305-432-9744. And we have two other local numbers, 448-3281 and 448-3279. These are the numbers right here that you may call in to connecting the dots right here on DBS Radio.
And of course, you know, once those calls come in, we'll take them. Pamela, in terms of your recollection, family recollection as well, um, what do you recall the most about that particular day?
My home, my house was like way further down in the community. And so we were not, my immediate family was not very close to be able to witness. What I recall is there was a lot of screaming, a lot of crying, a lot of panic. And by the time the news, got to us, and of course, we were trying to reach up a certain area. No, my mom served as the clerk of the village council at the time. And so she and Mr. Alfred Fontaine were very, very tight, very close. Well, again, the whole village council at the time, they worked as a team and they worked hard. And so she was screaming her head off, she was crying, she was panicking, and to see what it is that they could do, who they could call. I recall they were saying that, okay, they had pulled out a body, they had pulled out certain people, they were headed down trying to make hammocks to get the people out. John here was just all messed up, when by the time they pull him out from underneath the soil. There was another very close friend of mine, Dorian Thomas. These
Wait.
persons,
When you said John was pulled out from the soil,
John was
John,
covered.
you were actually trapped in that as well.
John was
Yeah, I'm
trapped.
a survivor. When we started, I
Yeah.
said I'm a survivor. Yes.
So John was trapped, and so the
Okay,
other
we'll come back to
persons.
that because that's an interesting one. But go ahead, go continue,
So
Pamela.
the other persons that they were saying, they were given the news as they were able to pull out bodies, or how they were able to pull out survivors. And so there was a lot of panic. The whole community by that time had come on board. The river was high at the time, so it was not very easy access from those coming from Fossation to enter into Bagatelle to be able to assist. And that's how we lost one of the guys from Fossation, because he was trying to cross the river at the time, and then the river swept him away as well. And so it was just a lot of panic. It was just like persons just feeling hopeless, those who could not reach on the site. And for those that they were able to pull out, the survivors, and even the bodies eventually when they pulled out. So there was just a lot of concern. How do we get those persons to the hospital? The strange thing is, about that same time, there was a strike at the civil servants, I think, and then there were nurses on strike at the hospital. And thank God there was a nurse from our community. So she went in. She felt that she just didn't have a choice. She definitely went into the hospital to make sure she was able to take care of her people, from the community. That's Nurse Yulin Anselm. And so this is what my recollection is regarding this, how we were transporting those who had survived. And so it was just a lot of panic. The people who were just trying to come together, everybody was concerned, there was so much love at that time in the community, and everybody was just so very concerned and just crying and screaming and bawling. So that's my recollection.
So,
Nigel, I want to ask Mr. Fontaine, if I may. Go ahead, Nigel. Good.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
sure.
yes.
Go right ahead. Go right
Oh,
ahead. Go right ahead.
okay, Mr. Fontaine. My question may be a bit sensitive. You're trapped. You are there. First of all, I want you to tell us how long were you trapped for, and I want you to kind of take us through a little bit of some of the emotions and feelings that you were going through at the time. Like I said, I know this may be a sensitive question. The reason why I'm asking that is because I know and I see this especially right now a lot more often. A lot of the young people, they are just, they go out and they want to go quote unquote sightseeing and so on. And then, sometimes, unfortunately, they may end up in situations and they may lose their lives. But first of all, tell us, how long were you trapped for? And, take us through some of the emotions and the feelings you were going through. You're trapped. What was going on with you mentally and emotionally then?
Okay. Let me start by saying, at the time, just before the loud noise, I was standing on a step. That's a step leading to the ladies' home, not the bakery. So I was pretty close to the bakery as well. But I was standing on the step. And when that loud noise came from above, we had no choice but, the people who could run, who had a chance to run, head in that direction. I didn't have a chance to walk down the step. I just jumped. And as soon as I jumped, there was soil and debris at the back of my legs and throw me. And so I had a drag for about 20 feet on the ground. I could feel crushing and so on and so on. And when I eventually stopped, I stopped like in a sitting position. And I told myself, I was conscious all the time. I told myself, if I went through this and we were all there, some people died. When I looked around, I saw this young boy fast asleep on a door, a wooden door, and two boards. You would say like somebody placed it on him.
Wow.
I look again and I saw a young lady almost in the same position like me. And I'm wondering, but why isn't she trying to save herself and go and move? But her spine was messed up.
Wow.
And then I now decide to move. But the soil around me, everything is soft. But from waist down is underground. And so when I tried to take a little strain, a little pressure on the hand too, I just felt my left hand from my shoulder. It's like it didn't exist. And when I looked, so these are the marks of the disasters. You see all these things, these marks you're seeing on my face. So I'm marked for life. So it was crucial. And so even at that stage, I was saying to myself, and then I could hear screaming and I could make out voices, people who were trapped as well. And so it took a cousin of mine to rescue me from that position. And I decided to go home to see, to check and see what happened. When we got there, there was nobody. Well, they had fled. So the house was empty. So I said to the guy, well, let us go a little further down in the village. And we stopped at a shop and stayed there for a while. And I was trembling like a leaf because it's still raining and, being covered for that. But I was very strong, trust me. I was born a leader. And I had been a leader. I was a leader at that time already, at 19, being part of Scout Troop and so forth and so forth. And it took some guys, like Pamela mentioned, it took some guys to come a certain time and made some makeshift hammocks and took us down. And they took me to my grandaunt's home, where I met with my mom and others. And my experience there was just, it's like every 5 minutes I would just ask for a glass of water. Water. And then when I started vomiting, soil and everything.
Wow.
So I remember that night when it was about 10 o'clock in the night. Because at that time, as Pamela said, we only had the nurse, we had nurse Ansem assisting us. She did what she could with the resources that she had at hand. And I recall at 10 o'clock, somewhere around 10 o'clock that night, my mom was still worried because everybody else is there, but she not seen her husband. And I had to turn to my mother and say, Mom, you know that if Daddy was alive, he would have found us already, and that was hard. But
Yeah, that's definitely tough.
but that's how it was. And at the time too, we had the defense force. Defense force was in present at the, well they were we had defense force on the island, so they made it to the village. Mark you that there were slides from Lubia up, so they couldn't come by transport. They couldn't. So only form of transportation was by boat. And so for those of us who were critically ill, we were transported the next day, which is almost maybe 14, 16 hours after the incident. Transported by air with assistance from a helicopter, I think from Martinique or Guadeloupe, one of them. And that was an experience. And so it was just rough. You had families who lost about 7 people in one family. So
that's definitely tough. I mean, in terms of having to go through that, and especially seeing others around you, right? And not being, one, maybe not being able to help them, but two, not knowing what happened to certain people around you at the time. Once that happened, though, John and Pamela, once that happened, I know you guys keep referring to this loud noise, this loud sound,
yes.
right? I guess that's the best you can describe it. It's almost like an explosion, probably, for those who might not know. Similar to what? Maybe like an explosion, and then you have those waves of soil, as you call it, coming down in that particular area.
Yeah. That noise was just extreme, Nigel. And it was really an explosion sound. For some people, they said that it was the dam, that created that sound. But the dam is still standing in Bagatelle today as we speak. So it's just mysterious.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was the area that, so in terms of Bagatelle now, where that major slide occurred, is that still like cut off from the village, or has it been rebuilt, or is it functional now?
Yeah.
Are people kind of scared passing there? What's it like?
Sene is still an active hamlet, and the area where the disaster happened, you have quite a bit of farming taking place there.
Okay. What about families though? Families who may have probably lost others. I mean, you lost your dad and so on. Other families who may have lost family members. How are they dealing with it? Although it's many years back.
Some of them are still in close proximity to where the disaster occurred. Well, life must go on, and you have to be strong for others. And we learned a lot of lessons. We learned quite a few lessons. And Nigel, let me just take you back a little bit. Because I served as a local government commissioner, my recollection of assessments and things like that. So I recall that was in a period where in 1975 you had the Mount Prosper disaster.
Right.
In 77 you had Bagatelle disaster. In 79 you had Hurricane David. In 1980 you had Arlene on August Monday, when people thinking of going to
the
beach and so on. So you had a series of these disasters occurring in Dominica at the time. And it's like it was a wake-up call. So the whole question of institutionalizing risk reduction and response and all this, it came about in that period. Yeah.
So we can say, so we can say, Mr. Fontaine, not in a bad way, but could we say maybe because of those disasters, thankfully, and I mean that in the most respectful way, measures and policies were implemented in order to sort of mitigate further, loss of life
Definitely.
and property damage and so on.
Yes.
So I mean, I'm not being insensitive, but would you say that probably it was a good thing that some of those disasters occurred because later on a few good things came about?
Yes, as a result of the disasters, a number of things came about, and if like right now, there's great political will when it comes to risk reduction. There's the creation of CREED and a number of institutional organizations and policies that have come about as a result. Then you have the establishment of the ODM and so forth. Great partners, ODM.
Oh yes, oh yes, oh yes. What about that bakery though? Is that bakery? Is that bakery? It's gone, right?
It's gone. And we had a replacement in the lower down in the village, and it's out of commission at the time. And so you have a number of entrepreneurs taking advantage. So right now we have 5 different suppliers of bread to the community.
But you no longer get that hot bread that used to you
No.
that you would flock down to get.
No.
Is that is that something? Is that something that you miss? Being able to go down to the community, that particular bread shop, and probably not just that particular one, but just being able to know that you have a bakery in the community you can go down and like you said, get a good nice hot bread. Is that something that you miss?
Of course we missed it, and it's unfortunate that the same thing happens in Fontaine. The bakery is shut down as well. So you cannot get hot bread in Fontaine. You cannot get in Bagatelle. So that's why we have 3 vendors from Grand Bay, 1 from Roseau, and one from Petit Savin now.
So they're the bread suppliers now.
Yes.
Yeah, they deliver bread.
Right.
Well, delivery is not the same. Nigeria's delivery is not the same as getting it fresh right there.
Not
It's
at all,
definitely
not at all,
not
not
the
at all.
same.
Yeah.
Definitely not the same. Definitely so. The slide that occurred in that particular area, is it still dangerous, or has there been ways tried to kind of reduce possible danger?
I don't know.
Or it's just a matter of nature, there isn't much we can do?
Well, first of all, residents of the area were advised to stay away from that area for a period of time. Government did put that out of commission. And so some buildings were constructed lower down in the village because government eventually bought the estate from the from the Shillingford, at the time. And they built a few houses for some of the victims. And but in the area, as I said, famine is taking place there. And and as a result of what happened in Petit Savin now in 2015, Erica and the people are now in Bellevue. The state of the road in that area is not the best.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, it's a similar thing that was passed on to Petit Savin people where they had to actually evacuate. And so now they are resettled in Bellevue Chopin.
Do you guys feel, any one of you, both of you, do you feel like the Bagatelle disaster is something that is known in Dominica, or do you feel like that's part of our history that when it comes to disasters, we've not been mentioning enough, or many people don't know about it, they don't remember it, or aware of it?
First of all, as you mentioned that, Nigel, I really want to thank DBS and Steinberg in particular for putting up this tremendous effort and coming up with this Waves of Soil documentary that DBS plays every year. And we are very thankful to DBS for making it known. So in that documentary, you have many voices, number of persons who were involved in the disaster. and so DBS is a partner to us. And so for the ecumenical service that we're planning, DBS is also a partner. So I think it's known. It's just that we say history has to be taught. I think there must be ongoing dissemination of information, because maybe a number of people listening now did not know, despite the fact that DBS has this annual program, it may not necessarily be enough. And I think also this is what's his name again, who worked here at the time, Fontaine. I think he did put together a major documentary in the Chronicle. So if you
Right. Yes.
so,
Yeah.
so if you pull out a copy of the Chronicle around that time, you will see what Ferdinand Frampton, pleasant memory, may his soul rest in peace.
But
Nigel,
to
just
add to
before
that,
we
though,
we continue for our question, we just want to remind the callers, our listeners who would like to, call in and, probably share a little bit of the numbers. The local toll-free number, it's 1-800-327. Our international number is 305-432-9744. And our two other local numbers are as follows: 448-3281 and 448-3279. Also, we want to just inform the listeners that the National Bank of Dominica wishes to inform the public that all the ATMs except the one located at Douglas Charles Airport are now available to the clients. NBD encourages everyone to continue to be cautious. So the lines are open. Of course, you can call in to participate. Nigel, we have a caller. Could we take that caller, Nigel?
Yeah, go right ahead.
So good morning to you on Connecting the Dots. Good morning.
Nigel, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
John Fontaine, good morning.
Good morning.
And I can't figure out the name of the other guest.
Pamela Guiste.
Miss who?
Mrs. Guiste.
Yeah.
Pamela Guiste.
Oh, Mrs. Pamela Guiste. Okay, Pamela, yes, okay. John, 1990s, I can remember, okay, first of all, I just need to ask. My name is Victor Joseph Talo.
Okay, Palo, yes.
Yes. I have heard your program. I listen from inception of your program. But I haven't, please forgive me, I haven't heard the name of my dad, Sylvester Joseph, in your program. What role did he have to play? Because I can remember he lost one or two of your village council members, and he being the local government commissioner at the time, 1997. But I haven't, what role did he play regards to the Bagatelle disaster? And I can remember in 1997, while studying in Venezuela, I can remember the same college that I was attached to. They were mentioned, I think, I cannot remember whether they came, but there were some geologists who came from Venezuela, I think, to look at the area in question as a request from the Ministry of Public Works at the time. And I know for sure when they got to know about the disaster, they came to the class where I was and mentioned to me that about this big disaster where how many people have perished under the landslide. I can remember that as of today, and I know there were one or two council members, well, in fact, including you, John, who almost, you are a survivor.
Yes.
Of this thing, and then I know one or two of your council members had lost their lives, I think, including the chairman.
Yes.
Of the council. And, talking about this disaster, you all spoke about other disasters. But, I don't know, I heard you mention about erecting, or there was an erection of plaque or something location in the area.
Cenotaph.
You know, if that had not been done, I think it's ample time that children who are growing up now would get to know, you know, what happened in that particular area. And talking about that, I am also a survivor, same local government, of
Campbell.
bad landslide that occurred in 1978
Campbell.
in Campbell. In Campbell. There were two children from one family lost their lives and another one. And we also lost a member, a staff of the local government division who perished, Mr. Simon Roberts, in that area. So, you know, the disasters, you know, I was also part of the crew. I can remember the time when the incident in Mount Prosper took place. I was also part of the crew who went to try to you know, relocate certain people under the Palm Grove area. So I remember those incidents quite vividly, and you know, John, I know you're just like me. We are survivors of those incidents. But it's a very good program, and I also try my best to listen to Waves of Soil whenever it is being aired and broadcasted. So anyway, all the best, gentlemen, Nigel, John, and then
Thank you very
take care.
much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you, caller.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
All right.
Nigel, we have a very interesting piece of audio here with us. Maybe we can run maybe the first 1 or 2 minutes of it, Nigel.
Definitely.
Okay,
Yes, we can.
we have some of the audio from the program Waves of Soil, the nurse that was helping the nurse Miss Pamela that you mentioned earlier. We're gonna run just a little bit of the audio from that program to share a bit of her experience, and you know, our co-producer for the program, Ivona, even if she's still on vacation, but Nigel, she's still there with us. So we're just gonna run that just for about 1 or 2 minutes, and we're just gonna take this quick one here.
All right, so I think Joseph is trying to get it sorted out.
Yes.
Yes, no worries.
Nigel,
Once
let
it's
me
ready,
just get
just
it
run
sorted
it.
out from my end.
That's okay.
Differently,
That's
but
okay.
yes.
Whilst you're doing that as well, so John, it almost feels like you were you were kind of born into community involvement, community activity, and it has followed you through, and you're not able to to get away from it. Okay, I think Joseph might have muted you for a little bit while he's trying to sort out the
I
audio.
apologize for that. Yes.
So no, that's okay. You can go. Yes, John.
Yeah, some of us are, I guess, are destined that way, to be part and parcel and to be volunteers and to, you know, to do what we can for our fellow men. But the last caller, who really is an ex-colleague of the Department of Local Government, and he mentioned his dad, Mr. Joseph, who was also my boss, my first boss. He was the Commissioner of Local Government at the time. And it brings me back to the fact that since during that time, or maybe 75 when the disaster happened in Mount Prosper, that the Department of Local Government has been involved in assessments when there's a disaster. And that was so until Maria. It was done only by the Department of Local Government in terms of social impact, housing assessment. Despite the fact that you had a housing division and you had other technical persons, it was done by the Department of Local Government. And I think maybe the department need to be recognized for that. And because we were overwhelmed by the impact of Maria, government had to take a different approach for assessment, because the staff could not have done this alone. And so a number of persons were brought on board, and today I think there's an established number of organizations and institutions that are involved in assessment. But I think it must go on record that the department should be recognized some way, some form for that level of contribution to national development. Because I recall just before I left the department, one of the documents I looked at was an assessment done by the district development officer at the time for the West Coast, was Branca John, who is now parish priest from Granby. Branca worked with us for a while, and when we had the incident with the Matia Dam, Branca was the guy on the ground. Yeah.
Joseph, you have
But
that?
as a nurse and reaching on the spot and seeing the condition of John, I had to find myself in it. Although I was very tense and I was very sad at the time, but I had to put all that aside. But the district nurse wasn't there at the time. So I had to get people to go down to the clinic, to open the clinic and, to get material to go up there, to clean the wounds and to suture. And this took quite a while, and right, my reached it was say about 4:30, and then they brought down John about 5:30, and I left the area about 7:30 minutes to 8. And only John, John was the only person I could attend to. And then I went home, and then the following morning, I had to go to look about my aunt and the children. And from there, they took me to the school, because at that time, I think the night, the defense force fellows carried the other victims down to the school. And I had to find myself there, but by the time the wounds were already cleaned by the defense forces and other helpers, But we had to sort out the severely ill people, to get them down. And by this time now, I was joined with the nurses from Granby. The lady who died in hospital, well, she was very ill. She was in shock at the time, so we had to be pulling this, to elevate her and so on.
This was an elderly woman who died from septicemia. Although she hadn't any major internal injuries from after having been covered, but because so many of these small wounds became septic, she succumbed to infection and she died of septicemia.
I think they were very courageous too, because they were able to help to transport the ill. In spite of that sad moment, they were able to put that aside and help, give a helping hand, because in a situation like that, an unexpected thing, I expected, the people to be more, more down and out and more ready to, but it really worked well.
Just about 1 or 2 minutes from the program, Waves of Soil, written by Steinberg Henry, Nigel, Mr. Fontaine, Miss Pamela. Of course, the recollections are right there. So yeah, it's a very, very powerful and very, very emotional recollection right there.
Yes.
It is. And it's something, as I said, we want our people to connect with once that's done next week. John and Pamela, as we wind up the program, almost coming towards the end of Connecting for another Saturday. Plans for the memorial or ecumenical service is on Wednesday. What else is happening? It's just the service and that's it? Or are there any other activities?
Well, for the service, we are going to try to bring the community together, and we are going to be having Father Branca John, who is the parish priest, as well as Pastor Elvis Francis, who is a Baptist pastor in the community of Bagatelle. So then the two of them will be able to address, the persons who were there. John, I remember John was saying to me that we were at a meeting, and he was saying he was very concerned that people generally, and even in our community, of course, people just behave like they just don't have any fear of God. And then he is hoping that, somehow at this service, that people would be able to come and honestly and sincerely give God thanks and worship God for at least a brief moment on that day. And both exhortations from the parish priest and the pastor to to speak to that the people need to kind of recognize that there is a God, and he's hoping that this is one of the things that will be achieved. Of course, we have already built this plaque bearing the names of all of those who had lost their lives and in that same disaster, and we are hoping to unveil that plaque, and as he said, we will place it at a strategic location in the community, preferably the Old Mill Cultural Heritage Site, afterwards. So that will be left open, and of course anybody who visits the area will know, even our young people who are coming up who have no idea of what transpired then. Because Nigel, our young people hardly listen to any program on radio. Our young people are on their tablets and on their phones, so a lot of them do not know of those type of historical events that has happened in our nation. And so we are hoping that many will be able to get to hear, because DBS, as we say, we are so grateful that DBS partners with the community, and to be able to air that program every year on its anniversary. So we are hoping that the people will come out and just spend some time in remembrance of what transpired then, and what it is that we have grown from out of this. And that so we are hoping that it goes well.
Miss
All
Pamela,
right.
can we also remind? I mean, I know we're here on Connecting the Dots and we're remembering, but the exact anniversary date, or the exact date, when exactly is it?
21st of September.
21st of September.
Yes. So we
All
are.
right.
So we are.
And yes, John. And what time is that? As we wind, what time is that service? That ecumenical service? What time is it going to be?
It will be at 5:30, at the
5:30 on Wednesday.
at the primary school.
5:30 Wednesday in the primary school. So definitely we want to invite as many people to go connect. I'm sure DBS is going to find a way to have it done.
Yes.
But of course, if you can do that and you want to go there physically, you should. It's part of our history, and it's part of ensuring that we give remembrance, and at the same time we give reverence, and that we can connect as a people.
Yeah.
Final words, John.
So we want to take the opportunity to invite as many people as possible, the community residents, to come out in large numbers to the service. And we preceding this, we had an educational and social week of activities in the month of August, where we started with an educational night where we had Dr. Daru, the parliamentary representative, talking about the dangers of alcohol, and we had Bunty Liverpool talking about
Spoke about the cigarettes.
yes, Dr. Daru talking about dangers of smoking, and Bunty Liverpool talking about alcohol abuse. And we also had a Balguamon, because those days the elders are left out. We wanted to create a space for them, have an event with we had our good friends from the Piditsavern Cultural Group come across to do some dances and some performances, and had a little night out. And then we ended up that week of activities with an award ceremony where about 17 residents were awarded for their contribution to development in the area, in sports, in music, in baking, in fishing, and so on. So at this time, I really want to thank some of the people who came on board to assist us, and that include the Grand Bay Cooperative Credit Union, the Signman, Premier Computing, Dr. Daru, the Bagatelle Landslide Carib Village Council, Pastor Francis, Father Branca John, and members of the Baffin Point Committee and the residents of the area. So we really want to thank them, and to really invite and really wish to see that we have a full house, where we remember the people who contributed, the people who lived in Bagatelle in 1977. And we had persons in their 60s and persons in their teens, as well as young children who died in the disaster. So we really want the families and the residents on a whole to come to the service.
All right, well, listen, we appreciate it. We appreciate both of you coming to connect with us this Saturday and to remind our people of, a disaster that happened, but what we've been able to learn from it and grow from it. And, we want to continue the connection. So thanks for connecting with us again and being part of this. Wish you the best on Wednesday. I'll be tuned in from wherever I am. You guys know distance haven't separated me, so I'll make sure I can get that connection still. Thanks again. Continue to have a wonderful Saturday, wonderful week. God's blessings. John, you're a true survivor, my brother.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And thank you to DBS.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much to you too, and Nigel. This is good. This I was actually my last episode with you. Hopefully, Ivona is scheduled to be back.
Thank you, Joseph, for connecting with me for the last 3 or 4 Saturdays.
Yeah.
It's
been pretty fun, man. It's been pretty fun.
Connection.
It's been pretty fun, Nigel. I've enjoyed it. Learned a lot, and I just want to say thank you to you. So thanks a lot. Thank you, to all the listeners. Thank you for just accepting me into this small family as it is there. Nigel, thank you so much, and hopefully Ivona is going to be back next week Saturday with you, so we can say that it's going to be back to regular programming with you.
Well, of course, but you'll be part of the family. So welcome to Connecting the Dots family. You'll be locked in as well. So it was a pleasure.
Thank you, Nigel. Just before we end, we just want to inform you, the listeners out there, that the National Bank of Dominica Limited wishes to inform the public that all ATMs except the one located at the Douglas Charles Airport are now available. NBD encourages everyone to continue to be cautious. Nigel, have yourself a fantastic weekend, and of course, as always, stay safe. Nigel.
Returns to you, my brother.
We are standing by to cross over to the DG Fun Time coming up next right here on DBS.
Connecting the Dots has added an extra 30 minutes. Yes, you heard right. The Saturday morning program begins at 9:30